Okay, welcome to our first push-up video. So the idea of the push-up video is that you've watched the other video, the main one, and so this will kind of give you some extra stuff that will help you make your writing better and a bit more interesting. So this video follows on from what we've done already. So if we have a look then, so we've been describing our picture. This is our picture that we've got here. Now, one of the things you can do to make your writing that little bit different is actually play around with lighting effects and use lighting. So what I've done here is I've given a few words associated with light and a few words associated with darkness. And if we have a look at the light words, you can see that lots of things to do with light tend to be quite positive, and when we look at darkness, it tends to be quite negative. But actually, you can have some words associated with light that can be quite negative. So, for example, light could be quite striking. And in terms of that, it would mean that it shows everything and it kind of blinds you in a way. And then darkness, can be quite sinister if we think about how we use darkness, in that it could be creeping and stalking, which suggests that somebody doesn't know what's happening around them. Now, if we take it further and just have a look at our story. So we're using the same picture as we had for the other video and the same little bit of writing. But what we're going to do is kind of think about how we can use lighting effect to add meaning to the story. So if we have a look at this, now obviously your piece of writing, you're going to do something different. I've just used this picture to be as a starting point to kind of model it to you. But if you have a look, think about it. So this is our description so far. The towering trees look down on her reflection in the still water. Its cold water reflected the thoughts and worries etched on her face. She stood still, thinking and thinking as the grey mud seeped into her shoes. Now, if we have a look here a little bit further, and you can see that, right, what's the main source of light? Well, the main source of light is going to be the sky, isn't it? So that could be our starting point. And what does the light touch? So clearly when the light comes down, it's sort of reflected on the water. And you can see that maybe a little bit through the trees. So it's coming down through a little bit through the trees, but not so much what's hidden from the light. So let's have a look. So we've got this darkness, and if we look at the picture, we can see on the picture itself, we can see that what we've got there is this idea of two things, the light here and the darkness here. So it splits the picture in half. Well, what is dark? Well, it's the shadows, and when or where does the light change? So maybe what we could have is the clouds. If the clouds move, then the sun pours down and maybe it bounces back up into the trees. And you can see how, as soon as you start looking at light, you can see how it plays around and how it links with things. Light is always a good thing that kind of connects everything together, because really the light is coming down and it's hitting mostly everything, and so you can kind of use it to link all your sentences together. And then think about what kind of light. Is it a gentle light, or is it a harsh light? And the darkness, is it a soft darkness? The shadows really dark and sinister, or are they just subtle shades of darkness? And is it good and bad? More questions that you can ask yourself. So think about that with your setting, and think about what is the light actually doing, and how does it link everything together? If we take that further, so this is what I kind of thought of when I was looking at our paragraph. So I was thinking, right, okay, so I was thinking the light's being blocked by the trees. Thought maybe that water in the middle, you can see a glint of light, and then sunlight could kind of be reflected onto her face. So you can see how things can be linked together. So I'm not just writing about the trees, the water, and the person, whoever they are. And you can kind of pull it together. So blocking the light, the towering trees looked down on her reflection in the still water. Its cold water reflected the thoughts and worries etched on her face. A small glint of white danced and floated. She stood still, thinking and thinking, as the grey mud seeped into her shoes. The sunlight found her face as she raised her head to the sun. And when you look at it, we've got a natural cohesion, which means linking and gluing of ideas together, because you've got the light, and we've got the glint, and I didn't repeat the word light for the simple reason is it seemed to be a little bit dull that I'm just talking about the light and then sunlight. So I've used a synonym for light so that I'm not using the same words all the time and it make it so obvious to the reader. And then you can see that the light is blocked here, but then we've got a tiny little bit of light here, and then we're seeing a big bit of light here, so it's increasing as we go along. Now, what does it actually do to the story? Well, it creates a sense of hope. So this idea that there's something positive. Now, this piece of writing's, for the girl that's in it, quite negative, isn't it? So, and it gives that idea that actually it's not all doom and gloom, and it creates this level of complexity, that it's not just miserable. One of the things we tend to do with writing is we tend to we go over the top a bit. And so what we've got in this little bit here is this sense of, okay, this is somebody that's upset and worried, but actually there's a little bit of a hope. And actually the light itself shows us the thought process. So at the moment, there's no hope. It's blocked. The towering trees symbolise that. But then she has a small glint, that light. Now all you need is to change your thoughts is one small little thing. And then you can see she raises her face to the sun. And so that little thought, maybe, gets bigger and bigger as she's thinking, and then suddenly we've got this symbol of sunlight coming down and warming her face, and that sense of positivity. So we go from quite negative to being very, very positive, and quite subtly through the use of light. Now, we will add more as we go along, and keep an eye on these. We've got push-up, and we're also going to have other ones to do with sentences as well as we go along. And it's all there to build up things and to support you with your writing. And remember what we said, you know, to be a good writer, you don't have to write pages and pages and pages of stuff. What you've got to do to be a good writer is be a bit more thoughtful with how you write. And hopefully, after this little session, you'll be a lot more thoughtful about how you write settings, and particularly about how you write using light and darkness. Thank you.